Simply put, why clear messages win and how to design them. One of the key lessons from this book is that people barely hear what you're saying. The solution is to use simple messages because simple messages are stickier and more successful. For example, the slogan, 1,000 songs in your pocket for iPod, or just do it from Nike. Notice that Nike no longer even needs to use its logo for you to associate the slogan with their brand. Companies often get simpler over time. When a brand first launches, it has to always have the brand name next to the logo. Over time, however, the logo or slogan can stand on its own because people make the natural association with the brand name. Messages without fluff are highly successful. Take, for example, how Donald Trump's speaking style has changed over the years. He dropped a lot of the intellectual words and now speaks in short, simple sound bites using very concrete, physical language. This simplicity is effective because there's a huge difference between the message you think that you're sending and what's actually received on the other end. One reason communication fails is simple. Nobody cares about what you are trying to tell them, and they especially don't care about what you're trying to sell them. You're fighting an uphill battle against apathy and disinterest. A good example of this comes from the book How Brands Grow, where Dr. Byron Sharp debunks the myth that customers fundamentally fall in love with your brand. They generally only care about your brand when they have an immediate need for what you're selling. People are too busy to care about you, and they don't notice most things, they don't notice most brands. So the biggest challenge is simply getting attention, breaking through the noise. People filter out most things, so you have to figure out a way to get noticed. That's the key challenge in marketing today. You can do this by changing two things: what you say and how you say it. Once you get noticed, the challenge then is being remembered. And there are sensory, short-term, working, and long-term. Memory decays over time. This is a key reason why frequency or repetition is so important in marketing. In fact, the main function of advertising is to combat memory decay. Only a fraction of your marketing is actually understood. So we can think of this as a funnel. At the top of the funnel are things that get noticed. A fraction of that is remembered in the middle of the funnel. And then at the very bottom, a tiny fraction of people actually understood what you said at the top. Normally, people don't care what you say. They just ignore you. They tune you out. They don't care. So many of the successful ads out there are just great at grabbing attention. Think about the Old Spice man on the horse, or the viral video from Dollar Shave Club. Or think of a gorilla playing a drum. There's so much clutter and chaos in the world that very few messages get noticed. We can combat this by understanding these two human biases. First, we perceive tasks as more complex than they actually are. And second, we favor things that are easier to understand. The conclusion here is to simplify. Create messages that are easily perceived, easily understood, and easily acted upon. One demonstration of this is that people prefer names that are clearer and easier to pronounce. In my opinion, Vanta is an almost perfect example of branding. One reason is that the name is distinctive, yet it's incredibly easy to pronounce. Research shows that products with easy-to-read fonts are more likely to be purchased. Images with higher contrast backgrounds are rated as prettier, and websites that load faster produce more sales. Easy things create positive feelings and drive action, and you have to prioritize the receiver. What are their goals, their needs, their desires? What's in it for them? In my experience, most cold emails are incredibly self-centered and talk more about what the sender wants than what the receiver gets. Some of the best emails I sent were ones where I started off by offering money or a free gift card. This gets straight to the point of what's in it for you. If you work in business to business, you also need to understand that what the manager wants may be very different from what benefits the company. That's why gift boxes and gift cards are so incredibly effective at generating sales pipeline in business to business. Here are a couple messages that do a good job communicating what the receiver wants. FedEx, when it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. Black & Decker, quick home repairs, do-it-yourself projects. Use on wood, metal, and plastic. Here's a useful 3-step formula for marketing. 1, start with a hook that communicates an emotional benefit. 2, then give an intro that discusses a functional benefit. And lastly, number 3, explain the details which cover a feature. One way to test the cohesiveness of your message is by replacing the word and with so. Here's an example. We are going to develop a loyalty program, so we'll release a line of collectible coffee mugs. Half your battle is breaking through from indifference to attention. Salience, or in other words, standing out, matters tremendously and is grossly underestimated by marketers. Imagine sitting in a class and suddenly a disco ball turns on. You immediately notice it because it's bizarre, but in a nightclub, you wouldn't notice a disco bar. Imagine going to a nightclub and seeing someone reading a book. That stands out because it's odd. But on a university campus, seeing someone reading a book has no salience. You have to understand the context to figure out what gets noticed, and you can think about that when you're running ads on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. The best way to achieve salience is by doing something that others aren't. Bigger, smaller, louder, quieter, lighter, darker, higher contrast. Here are a couple of ads that did this effectively. Don't even think about parking here. And tobacco kills 1,200 people a day. Ever think about taking a day off? Another key to effective communication is empathy. For example, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Another thing is you really want to get out of the habit of using jargon. So let's think about terms like synergy, leverage, traction. Dumb down your messaging. Research shows that emails written at a college level had by far the lowest response rate. Here's an example of a sticky, simple message. Eat food, mostly plants, not too much. Very easy to remember and understand. Remove the fluff. Remove the unnecessary words. Speak to one person instead of the crowd. And remember, when people read online, they tend to skim and jump around.